Guess who the number one demographic is for women's basketball? Who does that appeal to most? Lesbians and drag queens. When the WNBA finals are going on in your city, you can't buy a strap-on anywhere in that city. They're sold out. So last night a friend sent me an angry text. He was upset that First Lady Jill Biden wants the Iowa women's basketball team to accompany national champion LSU to the White House. His text read, this is effing ridiculous. So the all-white team loses and gets an invite to the White House for sportsmanship. He's a friend of mine, good guy, trust me. He's a former athlete, married father of 3, has daughters. He's a passionate sports fan. Like many Black Americans, my friend sees issues through a racial lens first. First, not exclusively, but first. Social norms have programmed us to see the world in stark black and white contrast. Jill Biden's interest in Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes must be tied to race. There could be no other explanation. Well, actually, there is another explanation. Politics. Politics are at the root of Biden's interest in the Hawkeyes. Jill Biden is conducting outreach to the state that hosts the first presidential primary/caucus of the 2024 election cycle. Perhaps more important, Jill Biden's recruiting Caitlin Clark. Democrats control culture. They dictate what is broadcast on television, showcased at movie theaters, popular on the radio, and who has the most influence via Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Well, guess what? Caitlin Clark appears to be the next big thing in sports. She feels like Tiger Woods and Steph Curry rolled into the same package. She's the biggest star in all of college sports. Stick with me here. I mean, that sounds incredible. Some woman basketball player that you hadn't heard of 2 weeks ago, she's the biggest star in college sports. All right. Name another college athlete, male or female, with as much name recognition as Caitlin Clark. You can't do it. No one can name anyone who played in last night's men's championship. I think that was San Diego State versus UConn. Did anybody watch? Did anybody really care? That game was awful. No. Who were Danny Hurley and Brian Dutcher? I know them because I'm a hardcore sports journalist. You don't? Those were the coaches. The only player that I can name is, I think, a dude named Lamont Frazier hit the shot for San Diego State that put them into the championship game. I'm a hardcore sports writer, sports fan. Lamont Frazier, if he walked in here right now, I wouldn't know him. I know his name because he hit a shot. But if he walked in here, other than being tall, I wouldn't bat an eye. I wouldn't know. So let's move over to football, because that's where the stars are really at. In basketball, we know that's been ruined by the one and done. They all run to the NBA, and no one knows who they are unless they're involved in some murder investigation like Brandon Miller at Alabama. But again, Brandon Miller's from Nashville, Tennessee. If he walked in here right now, I might recognize him because he's really tall, and it would make me think. But if not for that murder investigation, who knows who Brandon Miller is, and he's probably going to be the number one pick in the NBA draft. But Caitlin Clark, she dwarfs everybody, including Caleb Williams, the USC quarterback. That dude won the Heisman Trophy last year. I love college football. I played college football. If Williams walked into this studio right now, he would have to introduce himself to me. He'd just be another little 6-foot guy walking into this office. If Caitlin Clark walked in here, I'd recognize her instantly. I'd probably even be a little bit starstruck. And I've only seen 2 of her games. She's different. Her style of play is unique. It's must-see TV. Caleb Williams plays exactly like every other 6-foot quarterback Lincoln Riley has coached to the Heisman Trophy. Caleb Williams is a gimmick. Caitlin Clark is a force of nature. She drove women's basketball to new heights. The Iowa LSU game recorded the highest television ratings in the history of women's basketball. Nearly 10 million Americans watched Clark take on the Tigers. Next season, I'll follow Caitlin Clark from start to finish. Next season, if the right teams make it to the women's Final Four, they'll do better ratings than the men. That's my prediction. If Caitlin Clark is in the Final Four next year, and there's some woman named Paige that plays for UConn that they say she's pretty good too, and then if LSU with Angel Reese and her loudmouth and Don Staley's whining South Carolina team, they make it to the Final Four, holy cow. Those ratings will dwarf the men's. So you know what? Democrats want Caitlin Clark on their team because Democrats are smart like that. They control the culture. They want to use Caitlin Clark to reach sports fans and moderate conservatives. Democrats are praying that Clark is a member of their most important constituency, the alphabet mafia. Yep. Let's deal with the elephant in the room. Joe Biden does not care about upsetting the LSU Tigers or black voters. LSU star Angel Reese called Biden's dual White House invitation a joke. Reese's teammate, Alexis Morris, tweeted, "Michelle Obama, can we, LSU national champs, come celebrate our win at your house?" Joe Biden and Democrat strategists are laughing with joy. Iowa at the White House with the Bidens and LSU at the Black House with the Obamas is the dream scenario. Both houses serve the same God, agenda, and constituency. The BLM, LGBTQ+, silent P, alphabet mafia. The alleged race war is clever camouflage for the real culture war taking place in America. The real war is over gender and sexuality. It's a proxy war initiated by Satan to dislodge America from Christian values. Democrats have sent black people to the front lines of this gender war under the false belief they're fighting the KKK. Except the Democrats, they call them the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers or whatever name they've come up with, whatever group the FBI has infiltrated to be the face of white supremacy. And you got all these black people on the front lines. Oh, I'm fighting the KKK. This is just like the 1960s. Oh my God, I'm reliving. Oh, I'm marching on Selma. We're the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Oh, I'm in this race war. And everybody standing around them has purple hair and has convinced themselves that they're a man living in a woman's body. And no one can shake themselves and spot the reality. Why am I surrounded by the alphabet mafia? I thought this was a race war. Because it's not a race war. That's the dumb doo-doo they sell you and you believe and buy to go fight in their sexuality war. LeBron James, he's the Uncle Sam of the Democrat Party. He's plastered on posters telling black people, we want you for the Black Lives Matter Army, which is just a front group for the alphabet mafia. The Bidens want to recruit Caitlin Clark for a more explicit alphabet mafia propaganda campaign. Guess who the number one demographic is for women's basketball? Who does that appeal to most? Lesbians and drag queens. When the WNBA finals are going on in your city, you can't buy a strap-on anywhere in that city. They're sold out. Caitlin Clark is the first women's basketball star to reach an audience outside the base. She's not Anna Kournikova, the sultry pinup tennis star. Clark is all baller. The attraction is Clark's game, not her sex appeal. She's relatable. She's not an overly muscled giant. She's not tatted. She's not Brittany Griner. Clark is skilled, and yes, she's white and homegrown. When the national anthem played, Clark and the Hawkeyes looked like the song meant something to them. LSU did not take the court for Sunday's national anthem. The Bidens want to groom Clark for leadership. No one needs to groom Angel Reese and Alexis Morris, or even Don Staley, the South Carolina coach. Their entire identities are tied to the Democratic Party. From abortion to same-sex marriage to transgenderism, there's no Democrat policy Black women or men will object to over religious or moral principle. Nothing. There's nothing we won't do. For the privilege of writing books, giving speeches, and pontificating on TV about white racism, and a corporate job in a diversity, equity, and inclusion department, Black elites pledge unconditional loyalty to the Democratic Party. You toss in an autographed picture of Barack and Michelle Obama, and most Black voters will volunteer as entertainment at a same-sex party on Epstein Island. Yeah, we're that cheap. I'm sorry if you don't like it. It repulses me how cheap we are and how easy we are to throw out our values to fight in this gender and sexuality war, while we lie to ourselves and pretend like we're fighting in some sort of racial war and we're fighting for our racial survival. We're that cheap, that simple-minded, that easy. We're blow-up dolls for the Democratic Party. That's why Jill Biden would go to that game, watch the predominantly Black team beat the all-white team, and say, this is what she basically did to LSU. I need this little white girl because y'all don't care about yourself, you don't respect yourself, you'll do anything I tell you to do. If we pulled Jeffrey Epstein up out of the grave right now, and I told you to drop to your knees and pleasure this man, you all would do it. She don't care about Angel Reese, Alexis Morris, or any of them. You're taken for granted. That's why she feels comfortable inviting Iowa to LSU's White House party. Angel Reese ain't going nowhere. The Bidens don't know what Caitlin Clark is going to do. They want to secure her support and the support of all the sports fans who love her. It's a smart play in a game of chess. Caitlin Clark can reach far more independent voters than LeBron James.